Well, panzerking is at it again. I tell you, this guy up here in Prince George, British Columbia, I've never even had the pleasure of meeting him. We were going to meet this spring at the Spring Offensive up General Hand Grenades. They're good friends. And of course, Corona put an end to that. And so panzerking has been supporting the Hilltop Pillbox. And I tell you, folks, this man is generous to a fault. Again, and I've said this before, and I mean it, get over to his channel, panzerking, if you haven't yet, and see the customizations, see that table that he's made, see the trophy that he's made, all the medals and the ribbons and the finery that he has made for the 1936 Spring Offensive, and it sadly didn't go, but next spring we're hoping that that'll all come together and the coronavirus will, take a rest for a while. Well, forever. And we'll be able to get together and enjoy all of his hard work, because I tell you, the stuff he's done is amazing. Now, these are just flight stands. On the right, you see 2 for the dive bombers, and on the left are 2 for fighters. And those came from planes that he sent me earlier. And now I'm going to head over here and show you what he has sent me now. He has sent me a collection of American carriers. And these are painted up a little bit there and mounted. He's got the, I should turn around so the flag is correct. He's got the, of course, the Stars and Stripes on there, and he's got the Yorktown, and we got the Hornet, the Enterprise, the Lexington, of course. These are plates from trophies, right? And he just gets them etched, and he mounts the carrier right on there, and there you go. And they're all magnetized, of course, because, you're going to do it right. I tell you, folks, I do not have the skill, or I don't know what the right word is. Just the skill to put something like this together and make it look this nice. So panzerking, top shelf, man. These are going to look great on my board. I'll just swing around here and show you the board that they're going to be on shortly. This is a 1939 historical board gaming board, and as you can see, there's already 2 of the Japanese carriers that he sent me a little while ago, and they're ready to go. Kaga and the Soryu, and more get built. When you play Japan in this game, Japan builds carriers. They actually build quite a bit of Navy, even though they start with a pretty magnificent one. They build quite a bit of Navy because, as you can see, there are a lot of territories, right? And yeah, they got to keep the American fleet at bay. So yeah, we're going to be, hopefully, one of my subs wanted to play a game of this on YouTube. So that would be quite challenging, but definitely doable. And so I got it all set up, and now we just got to arrange who's going to play what and when we're going to start, and any of the house rules that sometimes come and go from this game. So, all right. Well, now we're off to Axis and Allies and Zombies, and yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise ending, but there you have it. All right, enjoy, and to panzerking, tell you, man, just really appreciate all the support for the Hilltop Pillbox, and people, get over to panzerking's channel. You want to be inspired if you like to do some of these neat little things. Maybe you're not, incredibly handy with a paintbrush, like I'm not, right? You can't do the fine detail. You might not have the skill or the patience, or both. And you want to do things that just look awesome, and they just look solid, and yeah, head over to panzerking. He'll set you straight on all that stuff and let you know how it's all done. And who knows, maybe we'll see some of your videos soon, when all you folks out there are starting to put your carriers onto these beautiful plates, getting them etched, and I tell you, it's just fabulous. Alright, folks, off to Axis and Allies and Zombies. Wish us luck. folks. Welcome to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada, and the zombies are back. Yes, I don't have as much time as I did in the summer, so as you may have noticed, the videos are going to be a little less frequent, which I apologize for, but guy's got to feed his family, right? So we're just going to do a solo gameplay here of the zombies, and we'll be using the zombie deck, where we use both the top and the bottom of the zombie deck. If you're not familiar with that, at the beginning of each turn you draw a card, and you typically add a zombie to some place. So in this case it would be Yunnan, and then the desperate measures allow you to do some neat things. Sometimes you get technologies, and sometimes you get some units to move around, or you get to move zombies around. So we'll see how that goes for everybody today. If you've never played this game, I highly recommend it. Now, if you're an A&A purist or a historical purist, of course, this might rub your rhubarb, I guess, you know, the wrong way, as it were. But it's a fun game. You cannot possibly take this seriously. You know, sometimes you play games and, you know, tensions get high and maybe dice get thrown or tables get flipped. I've actually never myself been at a good old-fashioned table flip. Most of the people I play with are fairly understanding. Years ago I did have people chuck dice and pieces and whatnot, but never actually flipped the table. Helps to bolt them to the floor, I guess. But here we go. Axes and Allies and Zombies coming at you. Let you know how turn one goes right after this. And one little note here, you may be wondering how I got so many of these. Well, good old historical board gaming tends to have a lot of these extra dice, and pretty cheap. I think you can get 6 more zombie dice for like $5 or something, and you can get like a dozen more, like a whole set of these for like $3. So yeah, you will find at some point you will have more than 6 zombies in a zone, trust me. And it'll be nice to roll all the dice at once instead of having to roll and re-roll. So yeah, I also have these handy dandy. This is right after the Russians played their zombie card, and I was getting the zombie stuff out, and I realized, oh yeah, I've got these neat zombie tokens from historical board gaming as well. So they're 10 for like $6 or something. So, and they just help your game just look a little nicer and run a little bit more smoothly. So, good old historical board gaming. Great sponsors of Hilltop Pillbox. Alright, round 1 is done, and some pretty typical things going on here. We had, the Japanese have a bit of bad luck here with the zombies. They had one put with a card on the Caroline on their turn, and then when the zombie attacked to start the turn, killed the infantry, and now there's 2 zombies on the Caroline. So, likely won't be taken back anytime soon. It takes a lot of effort to go kill zombies, and they got other problems, because the British came and took here, Southeast Asia, so they had to go and take it back, and they used everything to do it just so that maybe India could fall next round. And that left Central China open, so they lost a couple of bucks there, but as we know, Mongolia is zombie now. East Africa is zombie. Went that way, I think, on the American turn. And the Americans did a move. Here's some zombie survival OST HQ. So if you're familiar with that, there you go. So the American move is to come over here and drop a couple of infantry off, knowing that they'll die. Maybe you kill a German. You usually don't, but they'll definitely create 2 zombies that will then attack them to start the German turn. So, unless Germans can move them, of course, with the card. A few naval things got sunk. Germans lost all their subs, but sank the battleship and destroyer off the coast of England there, Sea Zone 8, I believe. Everything else is pretty much status quo. A little back and forth here in the east. Now, Russians definitely have to attack this big stack in West Russia, and there's 4 zombies. So hopefully their first card lets them maybe move zombies or gives them a tech, like, you know, chainsaw tanks or zebra suits. I like the zebra suits. I think those are great, because then you can kind of build infantry without fear. So Anyway, Americans piled their fleet over here on the west coast, and knowing that they will likely lose the destroyer and transport here, built another destroyer, transport, and man, saved some money, made a little money. There was a zombie in Sakang that was placed there by the Germans, I think, on their turn, and the Americans were able to convert a zombie to $3, and so they did that. So no zombie attack on the Americans this round. And to start the Soviet round here, there will be no attacks on them from the zombies. To start the German round, we've got the ones in Africa, the one in France, and the British have nothing to worry about. Japanese, though, boy, those zombies could really cause a problem. The British did send over a bomber to help out in Moscow, a little bit of defense in case this goes disastrously wrong. But to be honest, if this goes disastrously wrong, then whew, Russia could be in a way. All right, we'll let you know how turn 2 goes right after this. Round 2 is done, and the zombies are starting to spread a little bit. They were checked in Central America here. Right, Cat? Oh, I think he sees a zombie. Anyway, so the zombies were checked in South America. One was planted there. Another one came up in Saudi Arabia, so that's no longer neutral. It's worth $1. In Africa, things pretty much stayed the same, but the British were able to take care of the zombie in Italian East Africa thanks to their high explosive artillery, which now kills zombies on a 5 or a 6. The British came up here and took Norway, lost a man and killed a man. So there's your zombies. The Americans planted a zombie in Berlin this round. This is kind of interesting here. I was looking at it. Did not like the odds of attacking Moscow. It looked better before the Russians had put their build on of a couple tanks and a couple men. And so we decided to go south of the Caucasus. But before that, the Germans had a card that allowed them to move half the zombies rounded up into a different territory before the zombies did their attack. So there were 10 in there, so they moved 5 up to Archangel to take that. Now you say, now why didn't you move them into Russia? Well, moving them into Russia, as disastrous as that could be for the Russians, because at the start of their turn, of course, they'd roll 5 dice, but they'd only hit on D, right, on defense. Whereas if they put them in Moscow and ever want to go into Moscow, they'll kill on an A, which is a 1 in 3 chance. They'll kill the attacker, so the Germans didn't want to face them. But of course, when the zombies attacked, they did kill 1 German unit, and hence there are now 6 zombies in West Russia. And so the Germans came down to Caucasus with everybody. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting decision here. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with these Russians. Don't have a lot of money. We're down to $8. The zombies have 7. So it's not looking real good for Russia here. The Japanese, of course, have some options. The Americans lost Szechuan to the zombies this round, and might be able to take it back next round, but this round they lost it. The Japanese came down, solidified their hold on Southeast Asia, killed the zombies that were there. No losses. The British built 4 subs, which forced the Japanese to bring down a battleship and a destroyer, because of course the Allies working together, the Americans came out here, and now they're threatening Japan proper. Or they can just crawl across here and they can invade Manchuria, but this fleet is definitely stronger than the Japanese home fleet. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Japan will have to spend some money on boats, which means their few land units will have to do the job for them, which they don't have a lot of right now. India is bulked up with infantry, so that will be a bloodbath and a zombie generation station. So we'll have to watch out for that. Not much else going on there. That's pretty much the whole thing. The thing I like about this game too is it does play quickly, and there's not a lot of money involved, so there's not a lot of humming and hawing about what you want to buy because you got no money. As I've always said, there's a certain liberation in being broke. So in this game you really feel that. So alright, we will let you know what happens on round 3 in just a moment. Oh, and yes, I did catch this in case you were looking and saying, hey, that's a zombie territory. Yeah, it's a zombie territory now. So the zombies are up a couple bucks and the Americans are down. Round three saw some interesting things happen. We'll start here. The Americans are putting all their money into the Atlantic and still didn't come across because the Germans have now 4 U-boats sitting here ready to strike C-Zone 14. So the Americans figured they'd bulk up a bit. This focus on Navy, not really a focus, but that's, 24 bucks worth of stuff there that could be on the continent that may have cost the Germans getting into Moscow. I guess we'll have to figure out what happens there. The Russians are really, really in a bad way. They're down to their $4 now. That's all they got. It's $4 down here, so they're at 4, and the zombies are at 11. Everybody else is kind of close to where they started. A little bit down, a little bit up. So, yeah, the Russians, unless they can pull something miracle out here, they'll just be building artillery from now on, hoping to hold the line. But that might not be enough. In Africa, the Germans did a big attack in Anglo Egypt, Sudan. They brought their man and artillery from the Middle East. They brought a couple of men from Europe on the transport, and the guys from Africa, and of course they killed everything but the plane on the first round. But the British got like 5 hits, I think. So Germans decided to retreat because there's that many zombies there now, which could really wail on them. So they decided to retreat. And Sudan, Anglo Egypt, Sudan is worth $1 in this game, right? So it's not really that worth it for money. Plus, you can't build factories. You can't make forts or anything like that. To make it a an amazing defensible location. But it does allow you to get into Africa, and there's 5 more bucks. So there's 6 British bucks in Africa, and $6 in this game is actually quite substantial. But got to get there first. India continues to bulk up. The Japanese came and took coastal China, and were able to grab other stuff from Russia, and this is why Russia's hurting so badly. The Americans were able to take back Sichuan, so next turn they'll be able to build some guys on there, if they're still there, of course. The Japanese built a little bit of stuff at home here, and are hoping that the Americans don't come over. And the Americans didn't this round because they had to deal with the zombies in Hawaii before they sortied out. But they did go sink a lone transport with a fighter that was up in 49. So there you go. Alright, that's pretty much all we've got for an update. It's, yeah, pretty status quo. The lines didn't move that much. In Africa they didn't move. In Europe they didn't move. In Asia they moved a little bit. But really, people are just tooling up, trying to get some stuff to the front so they can actually fight. So, turn 4, there should be some more shooting. And should be some more zombies. We'll let you know. Alright, this latest round certainly had some interesting moments. We'll talk about the American turn just firstly. These folks here had a very good round because they got the double card thing where they got to draw 2 cards. And one of the bonuses was when you take over a zombie controlled territory, in addition to the free infantry that you get to roll a die, and on various die rolls you get things. So 1 to 3 is an artillery, I think 4 or 5 is a tank, and 6 is a fighter. And so here they came down and took this one and freed it for the British, and they got a free artillery out of it. Of course, this transport is toast. But up here, they took Mexico and got a free fighter. So that really opened up some possibilities here for them. So I decided, you know what, let's go with the big Pacific push now. Because the Japanese are getting pretty big. They had a really good round. They were able to take Sichuan and kind of solidify their spot here. They don't have a ton of stuff, but there's really nothing going up against them right now. The Russians have their own problems, and they're only making $4. So the Soviets will not be a problem for anybody going forward, unless some crazy things happen. The British Didn't build anything in India, but they brought their fighter over, which means they gave up Anglo-Egypt Sudan, as you can see here. And you can also see that the Americans came into North Africa with 3 men, 3 tanks, and had 1 man turned into a zombie by the Germans, but the chainsaw tanks were able to kill 2 of the 3 zombies right off the bat, and then they killed another one in their round of combat. So chainsaw tanks are really handy if you're going into a heavily populated area. The Germans finally got a technology, and they got zebra suits. So that's that's going to be very, very useful for them, especially here in the Caucasus, because there's a lot of guys. Zebra suits negate for each infantry you have. It negates 1 zombie attack during the zombies attack phase 2. Up here, the Russians did a spoiling attack into the Caucasus and wiped out a bunch of stuff, created a bunch of zombies, and then retreated after 1 round of combat. They lost 3 men. Germans lost 3 men, and then and a couple of tanks as well. So that was kind of a win for the Russians, but you can see that there are a lot of German tanks here. So we'll see how Russia handles that with its meager income of $4. Out here, the Americans, as we know, landed and brought quite a force with them. The Germans are tempted to hit that, but I don't think it'll be a good idea. They got 4 at 2 and 2 at 3 versus 4 at 2 and 2 at 4. I mean, you get lucky and the Americans are done in the Atlantic, but if you mess up, it's Southern Europe's wide open. So we'll have to see what we decide to do there. It'll probably depend on how well we fare over here. The British built some destroyers because we're likely going to be building some more transports and just want to protect them from the air attack that is sure to come. I think that's pretty much it. I think there's not much else to say there. The Japanese have the mind control ray, so they sent the 1 zombie in Siberia over to the Urals at the end of their turn. So then this one here showed up on the American turn in Yunnan, so that kind of defeated that purpose. Alright, well there you go. That's round 4, I believe. And not a ton of surprises right now. Fairly status quo about things. Sometimes India has fallen by now because the British neglect it and try to land in Europe and put everything into that. But I thought today we'd use all the factories. So Australia has built, I think, 6 subs this game. India's built 5 men, I think, and then the rest has gone at home. So, all right, round 5 coming up. We'll see if there's a big cataclysmic battle going to form up for round 6. Time will tell. All right, well, here we'll start in the Pacific. Boy, I tell you what a mess this has become. Well, the Japanese had to do some fancy footwork here, but were able to find some success, but they kind of took it on the chin up here in the Urals. They ended up losing a couple of planes, actually, but they really, really, really wanted to hang on to that territory, and now Russia is just down to Russia, and all they got left is a tank and a plane, thanks to the big assault by the Germans last round, but the Germans lost far more, thanks to the zombies that the Germans actually brought with them. So got no one but yourself to blame there, Fritz. In China, it's pretty much status quo going on here. That zombie was just placed by the American card, but the Japanese were able to build a infantry unit in Sichuan this round because they've held it now for 2 rounds. And the Americans poured most of their money into this sort of a fleet. Funny thing happened though. The zombie card came up and had a guy in, or not a card, but there was 1 man and 1 zombie in western US, and they don't have zebra suits, so the zombie attacked, killed them, and as you know, right after the zombies attack, they capture territories. So the zombies went up 8, so they were all the way up at 16, and then the Americans, of course, took it back, got a free infantry out of it, and decided to put some more money into the Pacific. So that was kind of interesting. Had they lost that fight, good grief, that would be really bad. Built a single tank here just to flesh out the transport that is sitting there. Moved in a little bit here. Did an attack on Anglo-Egypt Sudan, mostly air power. I was able to take care of the zombies. And the chainsaw tanks helped out. And we left these guys here though. We figured the air power would likely do it, and they were able to do it. And the zombies, I don't think, got a hit, and so they got a free man out of it and everything. So it was a very successful attack by the Americans. In the German region here, kind of a failed attack on Moscow, of course, and just trying to bulk up again, but could be a while before they have that kind of strength there. But Russia, again, only making $4. So unless something weird happens, they might not last too long. Of course, as you know, when the zombies attack, they cannot destroy planes. Okay, can't destroy aircraft. So as long as you hold on to one plane there, the zombies won't be able to do anything to it. The Germans retreated their U-boat fleet back a couple of spaces. Likely gonna fly out and try to do something crazy this round, just because they don't want to be defending at a 1 when they can attack at a 2. Yeah, Western Europe's pretty solid. Seems like a zombie gets put into Germany almost every round. It's kind of funny. The British built another transport and a couple of guys here, so they got 2 transports now that can land. And and they took Sweden. I didn't put a roundel there, but they did take Sweden, and that's why they have an extra man, because of course you get a free man when you liberate a zombie-held territory. Yeah, India and Southeast Asia are a little bit just kind of stuck. But the British will likely attack again this round, just to try to get some more zombies cranked out in Southeast Asia. And then the Japanese may forego Southeast Asia and just go into India, though. So that's always a concern for the British, because you don't have to stay here, right? Like, you can leave, but when you do, you will lose control of the territory the following round if you don't put anything else back in there. So could be a problem. All right, round 6, I believe this was, so I think we're headed to round 7 now. And nothing really clear yet. I mean, Russia's in a bad way, but America's doing very well. Britain seems to be doing quite well. Japan is doing quite well. Germany, not so well. And yeah, so I think if you add up the economies, the Allies are, let's see here, so 31 plus 4 for the Russians is 35. Plus the British at 24 is 59, and the Axis are at 40. So yeah, considerably more cash on hand, and probably a slight advantage of goods on the board as well, especially the Americans. Americans have not been hit hard at all this game. They've been left alone. So that might change this round, though. We'll let you know. Just a quick note before we get going too far. Last turn, I mentioned that the zombies had taken Western U.S., and then I built the U.S. build there. And of course, you cannot do that because you need to own it for the start of the turn. So all that stuff that the Americans built, we ended up putting over here, and they really didn't go anywhere because they just don't have enough cover right now, considering there's still the chance that German aircraft could come by. So yeah, America's build went on the West this turn to make up for it. Down here, boy, what a disaster for Japan. They came down here with a man, artillery, and a bombard, and of course the zombie killed the man, and the bombard killed the zombie, but then there was still the artillery, so the artillery fired and missed. And then on the next round, the zombie that had just been made destroyed the artillery, and that was that. The artillery missed, so the zombies hold on to it. And the same thing happened here in Okinawa. They came down and they had tons of firepower, and everybody missed, and he killed the man, and then there you go. So I'm starting to think that in these island battles, it'd be better if you only come in with a couple of things to kill the artillery, and then if you kill the zombie, you take the territory. I think that's the way to go. Sometimes I do that, but I really thought that my air power here would take care of it, but they just all missed. What can you do? Japan didn't do anything in the mainland really. That was all they had the horses for. Didn't lose anybody. Oh, they lost one man in Sakang to the zombie attack. So now there's 2 zombies in Sakang. Kind of sucks. And yeah, so they're pretty thin here. The Japanese don't have a lot going on for them, and have to be very careful with the Americans massing here. And the Americans also sending over some fighters to India, and also slugging across here and leaving one guy in each of the African territories in case a zombie gets placed there. It's not an instant takeover. The British on their turn were able to move a zombie from zombie territory into an open one, and boom, there you go, Balkans. So zombies are still at 10 though, because they lost Mexico. They had taken Mexico again, and so the Americans took it back again. Didn't lose anybody on that one. The British were able to come in and get Karelia for the Russians. So Russia is now up to 6, but not they only got 3 units on the board besides their diminutive sub. The British wanted to have a little bit more air power to go in with their assault, so thought they'd wait a turn. And we've seen what the Americans got over here. Came down here. We're going to grab that guy from Brazil and bring him across. But as far as techs go, so the Soviets have their mind control ray. Unfortunately, they rarely have zombies in their territories at the end of a turn. The Germans have the zebra suits and the chainsaw tanks. The British have the zebra suits and the artillery, which kills on a 5 or a 6, kills a zombie. So the artillery is kind of cool, right? It's gone from, typical artillery in a typical game is a 1 in 3 shot, and then in this game it went to a 1 in 2 shot because you can kill a zombie with a 6, and now it's actually a 2 in 3 that they'll kill something when they shoot. So yeah, kind of fun. The Japanese have the mind control, and they moved, in this case, they moved a guy over to India that the American fighters came by and air dotted to death. So air dot is one of their techs, which means that the planes can stay up there on station for 2 dice rolls. So they were able to get rid of the zombie that way. Alright, so headed to round 8, I believe. And it's actually looking a lot better for the Allies all of a sudden, especially with Japan failing on both of their attempts to take back their islands. Looking a little lean, but hey, that's why we roll the dice. We'll see what happens on the next round. Well, that tells the story, folks. And you may be wondering, why would the Americans do a suicidal attempt on Japan? And I mean, this was horrible. They had 4 ground units and 2 fighters in the attack. The other fighter you see there was from the sea zone battle, which they won handily. They just lost a sub. And then they had their 7 dice or 6 dice or whatever, six dice, pardon me, and got no hits. And then the Japanese got 7 hits in their response. So that was a one and done battle. But the reason it's over is because Germany took Moscow. Now, in most games, that just means, oh well, gotta fight for it. But if they capture it and hold it till the end of the round, that is it, as long as they've got both of their capitals. So that's why we had that insane assault onto the Russian capital. Sorry there, I had a huge sneeze and I figured you did not want to hear it. But things were looking up here, especially for the Axis after they took Moscow. That pretty much sealed it. And I'll tell you, the dice have not been nice to the Axis over here, especially the zombies. They've been shredding the Axis. But before they went into Moscow, I think they only had a couple or 3 infantry down here, and this big stack of zombies did their attack and got no Ds. And so everybody went into Moscow, and the tanks did their thing, and it was pretty. It was over in one round. Like they just shredded them. The Russians gave a good accounting. I think they got 3 hits out of 4 defending units, but not enough when you're being attacked by about 13 or 9 or something. Oh boy, my brain is just mush these days. Trying to teach online and some in-person stuff and virtually with your Google Meets and whatnot. I tell you, my brain hurts. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can. But the old dog just his brain starts to hurt after a while. So be gentle. So if your kids are back in school right now, if they're in the system, and and they're full time or part time or whatever, headed back, write your teachers a little note and thank them, because I don't know what it's like where you live, but up here we're juggling between in person and online, and it's tough on the kids, it's tough on the teachers, it's tough on the relationships you try to build as a teacher. So yeah, it's crazy. But Britain here was actually doing pretty well, tooling up for a decent invasion. They went north instead of into France, because the Germans were able to bulk up a little bit there. They had 9 units in defense, and they'd probably take care of the 4 that were landing, and maybe an aircraft or 2. So the British went north, and as you can see, took West Russia, and we're starting to cause some grief. But that's all it was a little bit of grief. And the zombies really never got going this round, or this game. They were able to be kept in check quite well. A lot of the ones that come up didn't come up, like the West Indies, this one here. It's not worth anything, but sometimes it usually comes up. Australia usually comes up. New Zealand usually comes up when I play these games. New Guinea seems to come up all the time. Every game I've had, New Guinea gets hit. But none really throughout Russia. These are all homegrown, right? These are all, I think I put 1 in Karelia. The rest are all homegrown, just from battles. Pardon my throat. Oh, Corona. Yeah. So the takeaways from this game, to find success on the smaller battles where you only got 1 zombie you got to kill. When you kill the zombie, if it gets a hit on you, take away something that won't create another zombie when you're going after a zombie held territory, because wow, that's annoying. And yeah, I don't know, today the zombie dice were just ravaging these guys. It was just horrible for most of the game. As you can see, there's not much left on the board as far as ground units go around here. This is lots of naval, lots of air. The Japanese just every round would lose 1 or 2 guys to this stack, and they never got a card that let them get out of there, and they never had the wherewithal to take care of it. So just a big blech. And that's the British strategy in India. I've done that a few times as India, is just keep feeding men in there, and they die, become zombies, and then cause grief to the Japanese. But then all the Japanese need is that card that allows you to move zombies out of the territory. So yeah, well, we're possibly, our time is very, very limited these days. Spending a lot more time in the education system than a normal year, of course. Having to learn how to get all the stuff into an electronic file format instead of just handing out booklets, and using a lot of lecture. But when I do have some time, I'm hoping to have a game of BBR in not too distant future, next couple of weeks anyway, and if so, we'll throw the video up for that. Also, one of my subs was talking about doing a 1939, so I got the board out and I set it all up, about 1,000 pieces on that thing, but I haven't heard. So if you're the one who said, hey, let's play 39, you sent me an email, hey, get back to me on that, let me know if it's even possible, and we'll maybe be able to get something rolling there. Alright folks, thanks so much, and remember to hug your loved ones, and I mean it, I really mean that. Go slap a big hug on them and let them know they're special and important to you. And thank your friends for playing all these crazy games with you. And as we always say at the end, may those dice be with you.